Colton was born on July 30th, and they told me originally his due date was July 26th, and then after the second ultrasound, they said, bad cough. After my second ultrasound, he said August 2nd, and I kind of knew it was really more along the lines of the first one, July 26th. I just kind of did my own math and kind of figured it out. So I kind of thought he was going to be around the first due date or a little bit after, and obviously he was a little after. My water broke at 5 a.m. I was convinced, oh wait, let me back up. They told me at 36 weeks he was breech. He was turned right way the entire time, and then all of a sudden he turned. I was devastated. I cried a lot about it. I was really upset, and luckily I not only had Dustin to turn to, but I had other mom friends that and Christina, to be honest, that talked me through it, gave me exercises. I went and saw a chiropractor for 3 or 4 times a week for the last few weeks that I was pregnant, and trying to get my body aligned, thinking I wasn't aligned. He didn't have to do that much work, but he did have to do some, I can't even remember the terms. Do you know?
Adjustments?
Adjustments, yes. To get my hips in line and whatnot. And he said my body was fully capable of doing it. I prayed about it a lot. And I even considered doing the version technique where they literally, they don't go in you, but on your stomach they flip you, they try to flip the baby. We considered that, and the more I thought about it, the more I just realized that my whole purpose of doing this class was to have a natural birth, and that seemed very unnatural to me. So I've heard it work wonders for people, and I heard it work with no complications. Good for them. For me, it just felt like I was doing the opposite of what my body was telling me to do. So after a lot of talking with my husband, a lot of praying, we finally decided that we weren't going to go that route. And I just swam. Honestly, we've never used our pool more. I swam every single day for about 3 weeks. Trying to do everything as natural as possible to have him flip on his own. Finally, on Friday morning, on the 30th, it was Tuesday morning. Tuesday morning, and on the 30th, my water broke, or it didn't break, it was breaking. I was convinced he flipped, so I didn't even call Dustin, let him go to work. I was like, I'm gonna not even call him until I start going into labor, because I wasn't laboring at all. So the class tells you to do labor at home, so I'm like, all right, I'm convinced. I called my mom, I told her. She hung up the phone with me, very concerned, and then called me right back and said, let's just go to the doctor. She's like, let's just see what the doctor says. At least if they tell you he flipped, then you can go home or whatever. So we went, she took me to the hospital, I called him, he met us there, and I was at like 7 o'clock. My water was still breaking, it hadn't fully broke. And then they did an ultrasound to see if he flipped, and he hadn't. And so they told me that they were going to schedule a C-section. By 9 o'clock, my C-section was scheduled. By 9:15 or 16, he was born. And I was done with surgery by 9:30. And it turned out that our doctor told us that he was very thankful that we didn't try to flip him because his umbilical cord was abnormally short. And so if we did try to flip him, I would have had to do it. It probably would have detached, and I would have had to do an emergency C-section, which would have terrified me to no end. I mean, the C-section itself terrified me, but I feel like it would have been so much more stressful, and God knows what would have happened. So I was very thankful that I listened to my body, I listened to my heart, I listened to everything that was telling me not to do it, and we didn't. It was honestly the best decision for us. He came out so healthy. He's obviously so healthy now. We both, minus the recovery time it takes for a C-section, which is what I wanted to avoid altogether. It was a great experience. I was very upset that I couldn't have a natural birth, but it was the best birth for us.
Mm-hmm.
So I finally can be peace with that. Any questions?
How about Dustin? What's your version of events?
That was pretty much it. When she called me, she was like, I think my water broke. I'm like, what do you mean you think your water broke? She's like, yeah, I'm leaking. I'm like, okay, so your water broke. She's like, yeah, it happened this morning. I'm like, why didn't you tell me? She's like, she waited till I was like left the house and I was already driving to work. And then she's like, oh, it's not a big deal. My mom's coming over, we're gonna wait. And I'm like, okay, well, I'm like, I just have to sit for an inspection, so if I gotta leave, just let me know. And then she's like, no, I should be fine. And I'm like, alright. So then like 10 minutes go by, she's like, we're going to the hospital. And I'm like, okay. And I'm like, I'll come home. And so, yeah, I was a little nuts. But yeah, it all happened really fast. We were at the hospital at like 7:30, 8 o'clock, and they're like, yeah, we're gonna try and schedule something for around 10, 11 o'clock. I'm like, all right, sweet. I'm like, I haven't had breakfast. I'm gonna go grab something to eat before I have to sit down and watch this. So I left down the street to go grab something, and by the time I pulled into the parking lot, or she called me when I got to the store, and she's like, yeah, it's happening in half an hour. And I'm like, what? So I got my food and I got back in the car, I drove there real quick, slammed the food in my mouth and walked in the door, and by that time I had my whole suit I had to put on, and put the suit on, and they're like, alright, sit in that chair, and then when they're ready they'll call you in. So
they didn't even tell me he wasn't. When I got my epidural, they didn't even tell me that he wasn't going to be in there with me. So I looked around and I'm sitting there like waiting for them to put this huge needle in my back. And I was like, where's my husband? They're like, he can't be in here for this. I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, and then I started freaking out.
They don't let you leave the room while they actually pepper, like, put the epidural and everything. They have you come in, like, once they're all prepped and, like, pretty much got her cut, and then they say, alright, you can come in, and then you sit there, and, you know, I didn't want to watch it, so they had the sheet up, and so I just, you know, tried to comfort her, and then they're like, well, they'll just stand. Do you want to see the baby as soon as it comes out? And they just say, all right, stand up, and then just hold the baby. It was a lot to take in, but it's pretty crazy.
Do you guys have any? Oh, yes, go ahead.
The thing with like the number one thing that like I keep hearing, at least from our friends who haven't really had babies and don't really know about the whole birthing process, is, oh my gosh, you went through all those classes and you didn't even have a natural birth. That must suck. And I'm like, honestly, it was the best experience for both me and Dustin. I feel like I've been around kids a lot more than him, and we were both blind going into it, obviously, because we've never done it before. So I feel like the classes just helped him understand what I'd be going through, like after my pregnancy, during my pregnancy, and like, yeah, he couldn't be there for me, like helping me push and everything, but he was there for me in ways that no one else can understand. So it was such a great thing to have him go through these classes, have us go through these classes, and him be right there and understand, because like I said, we've never done it before. We were so blind going into this, and it helped both of us, and I really think it helped him a lot. I'm speaking for him, but I really think it did.
I was like, when she first told me about it, I was like super hesitant about it. I was like, I don't think we need to go to a class, like, I have babies all the time to learn, like, but I'm really glad that I did. You honestly learn a lot, and it helps you prepare for everything.
You guys
What was it
have
like,
questions?
When they said that you're gonna have to get a C-section, right there. Because I mean, did you guys prep for that possibility?
We did, just because we knew he was breech, even though I wanted him to turn so bad. We knew he was breech, so I mean, I was just talking to myself like, all right, this is what, I'm very religious. If this is God's plan, then this is what's going to happen. If he wants him to flip, he will. And if he doesn't, then he won't. Obviously, there's some reason that he won't. So I was at peace with that finally because of that mentality. But, yeah, I mean, we had 4 weeks to think about it and come to peace with it finally.
Yeah, we kind of had, I mean, we were just kind of hoping, like, last minute, flip. Alright.
Yeah.
So we kind of had a mindset for it.
No, it's okay.
Were you able to do the skin-to-skin contact, or what was that?
He went with them to get him cleaned up. We didn't have it right away just because, honestly, we left to the hospital. I didn't even bring it. Like, that's how convinced I was that I wasn't. And that was something I completely regret because it had everything I wanted. It had the fact that I wanted skin to skin, and right away it had everything, and I didn't bring it. And so right when he was born, no, I did not. I got to hold his hand, and he got cleaned up, and then when they wheeled me away, I had it.
It's usually, I think it was about within the hour.
Yeah, it was within the hour.
Because I had to stitch her up. And, well, as soon as he's born, she gets, you know, she got seen for like a second.
I was like, go, I don't care, I don't want us to be without him, or one of us to be without him. So he left, and the anesthesiologist was actually so sweet and just was talking me through it, like, all right, I'm giving you a little bit more medicine so the nausea goes down. I'm really sorry. He's like, please tell me when you start feeling better. If you start feeling better, if you don't feel better, let me know. Like, he was awesome. I felt so grateful for it because he really was keeping me calm while Dustin was gone and the baby was gone and everything. So
That was like the scariest part. Like, when she was like sick, and then like I had to go with him. I'm like, so I'm trying to take care of him, and then back in my head, I'm like, what's going on over there? Like, is she okay? And but everything was fine. But that was the one kind of happy part.
Did you look at polarizing jokes? Because our anesthesiologist, like, held my hair
Oh,
growing up.
yeah, he was amazing. It was that desert. It used to be Desert Sam. What is it?
Oh,
now?
Banner Desert.
Banner Desert.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Cool. Do we have any other questions?
What type of C-section do you have? Like, the correct obviously just like the
It's
linear-
just the. It's probably
And it's just like the linear.
yeah, it
Yeah.
is.
Bikini cut?
Yeah.
Way down?
Mhm.
And how is the recovery?
Especially wanting a natural birth, I expected me to be like the videos, walk out, be totally fine, have my orange juice, be good. And the fact that I couldn't even get up was really upsetting. Like, I would have to, for the first day, I had nurses literally walk me to the restroom. And oh yeah, I had catheter in, so I couldn't even move. So after the first day, I had people literally walking me to the restroom. I felt like I got in the worst car accident ever. My whole entire body was sore. I felt like I couldn't even, like, I could hold him, I just couldn't get up to get him. Like, at the hospital, we only stayed at the hospital for 2 nights. They recommended
Wow.
3 or 4. But I hated it so bad that I just wanted to be in my own house. I wanted to not be with, it was nice having the nurses, even when they were there, even when they were checking on him, they instantly woke him up, like, to, check his vitals, check all this stuff. And I'm like, okay, he doesn't need to be woken up this much. He's not crying. Like, he's been such an amazing baby. He only cries for when he poops, when he is hungry, and when he is tired. That's pretty much it. And now that he's teething a little bit more, but he's a really good baby. So knowing that now, I knew he wasn't ever upset during the middle of the night or anything like that. So they're waking him up for unnecessary reasons and waking us up for unnecessary reasons. And the fact that it wasn't scheduled, like technically scheduled. I was in an overflow room, so it was the tiniest room ever. On top of like me having him, he was miserable standing there. So it was just, I wanted to get out of there as soon as I can, and they're like, all right, well, we recommend you staying one more night. I'm like, I'm honestly fine. Like, I can do this at my house. That I don't need nurses to do this for me. So I went home a day early, and once I got home, it was a lot more comfortable. But luckily we have one story. I feel like if we had two stories, it would be a lot more hellish.
Can you talk about breastfeeding? Like, what was breastfeeding like for you after the cesarean?
It was great. It happened really fast. He latched on right away. He breastfed a lot. Only reason why I started supplementing is because I had a crazy schedule and it just didn't work where I was home and I could pump, and I just honestly didn't like pumping. But yeah, that was something I was really worried about, just with him not being, I had in my head that like if I didn't breastfeed right away, he wasn't going to latch on. He wasn't going to, I didn't do skin to skin, so I was terrified about that too. And he latched on instantly. Like, they were surprised. Like, in our recovery room, he was breastfeeding. So it was really, really fast, and I think the nurses were actually really shocked at how quick, not only I picked it up because it's a learning process for me too, but how quick he picked it up as well. So